inspire, empower.
This might be my most difficult speech of all, especially after that. I don't have the words to describe the message that he gave, that motivation, because it hit home so hard. I'm in a difficult place. The question is, what do I want? I know the answer to that question. And I find myself in a situation where I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have it. Not sure if I'm allowed to have it. I've been doing, I guess you call it public speaking, since I was 12 years old. Not because I was passionate about being a public speaker, I really wasn't given a choice. Here's a topic. Actually, they didn't even give me a topic. They said, hey, in 2 Fridays, you have to go give a speech in front of 600 people. I had never done it before. I was 12. They just, 600 people, come up with a speech, and I met with my pastor, and he gave me a Bible verse, and I had to talk on the topic of taking responsibilities for your actions. And it was the most terrifyingly rewarding experience in my entire life. And so growing up being a young preacher, because that's what they call you when you do public speaking inside of churches, I found my niche when I threw away my paper. I found my niche when I threw away my paper. When I began to speak from my heart and less from my head, I could see the faces on people begin to change and be impacted, and I know what I want. I want to have that impact on people every time I speak, and so I have this challenge because I'm supposed to write these scripted speeches, or at least that's the way it looks, and that's not me. It's not what I do. And I have the responsibility of finding the balance between what I'm supposed to do, what I have to do, and what I really want to do, which is to just be me. I met a guy by the name of Ty Sales at a training for drug and alcohol prevention. He broke every rule that you can think of in the Toastmasters manual. And it was the best 6-hour workshop I have ever been in. Every rule. And I was upset because he was done. And I thought about it. I said, man, I definitely want to have that impact on all of my listeners. What do I want? When I think about that question, I can't imagine a more important question that any of us have to answer. What do you want? No, what do you want? What do you want? For most of us, what we want is to please other people. I want my boss to like me. I want my spouse to like me. I want my neighbors, my family, my friends. Some of us have grandchildren and still are worried about what our parents may think. We want other people to like us. We thirst for their approval. And then I thought about it. If those people genuinely love you, then don't they want for you to be happy? Second question, how can you ever be truly happy if you don't even know what you want? The first thing we have to figure out is what you want. And I think some of us believe that we've already figured it out. I made a choice, so I have to know what I want because I made a choice, right? And the reality of it is that, yes, we have made choices. But what I'm asking for us to do this evening is to make a decision. Not to choose, but to decide. When we look at that word decide, in the Latin, there's 2 main parts. You have D and side. Anytime you see D, in the Latin, that word means off. And when you see the word side, you break that down to Latin, it means to kill or to cut. To kill, I like kill better. Doesn't that sound strong? To kill. Not cut is cute. That's what you tell 3rd graders. I like to kill. It's a strong, passionate word. Like, think about it. You spent all summer manicuring that front lawn, right? And then what grows up right in the middle? A dandelion. So you go to the expert, and what do they tell you? They tell you to get herbicide to kill it off, right? Then you go back into that beautiful house with the beautifully manicured front lawn, and you find out that there are some rodent pellets behind the toaster. Nasty. And you go to the experts, and they tell you to go and get some pesticide. Pesticide. And then you think back in your mind to when you were a young child and you were home for summer break and you were getting on your mother's nerves and she told you to get outside. And if you don't, you are in risk of getting a part of homicide. So whenever you think of the word side, you think of to kill or to cut. So when we put those together, decide, it literally means to cut off or to kill off. But kill off what? Great question. Kill off all other choices. When you decide, you kill off all other options. It's kind of scary, isn't it? It means that this thing here has to work. I learned what this truly meant about 6 years ago. In the weirdest place, a place I thought I would never find myself as an adult. A place called the Greyhound Bus. Our organization, I guess, found themselves in need of cutting back on our travel expenses and booked me my travel from Cleveland, Ohio to Knoxville, Tennessee on the Greyhound Bus. It's really just an 8.5-hour drive. But on the Greyhound Bus, it's a 23-hour ride. And as I'm on this bus, I'm wondering, well, I guess I should be a team player, right? I mean, I'm just going from Cleveland to Knoxville. I can suck it up for a day, right? And then I got a look at the price of the bus ticket. It really wasn't that much cheaper than the price of a plane ticket. And it got me to wondering, why in the world would any sane individual get on the bus when they could just get on a plane? And I know the answer. Because we are afraid to decide. Think about it. If you're on a bus, you get on, you find your window seat, and then you find that the person scheduled to sit next to you takes up a little bit more space than the seat that he has allows. We all got the picture? Now you find yourself cramped up against the window, all uncomfortable, and on the bus, it's uncomfortable, and there's smells that may not be to your liking, and it's a bumpy ride, and you find yourself no longer wanting to be in this environment, and you can now choose, if you want, to get off at the next stop. You can choose to discontinue this ride. As a matter of fact, if you get upset enough, you can choose to walk right up to the front of the bus, tell the bus driver, stop this bus right now and let me off. I can't take this anymore. And if you rouse enough attention, he might just let you off right in the middle of nowhere just to get you off the bus. You can make a choice. Now imagine being on an airplane. The same guy sitting next to you and you're cramped up against the window. The smells are making you nauseous and you're uncomfortable and you find like, hey, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. And you walk up to the pilot's cabin and you knock on the door and say, let me off right here, right now. How does that work? See, when you get on the plane, you've decided there are no other options. You've got to see this thing through to the end. We have to learn to decide. Many of us have moved past just simply answering the question, what do I want? Some of us have even learned how to decide. What we've done, though, is we've chosen to decide things that aren't in our own best interest. For example, we have decided to have the feeling of being able to say, I tried. Anybody know anybody likes that? They just love to be able to say, well, at least I tried. It feels good to some people to say, hey, I tried. And we know full well they had no intentions of ever doing it. Like the person you invited to your barbecue over the summer that didn't show up, that told you that, hey, I'll try. And they might have even gotten dressed but never made it past the front door. You have people who have literally made a decision to try. While there are other people who've made a different decision. They decide that they want to know what it feels like to experience success. They decide that they have to know what it feels like to succeed. And what happens when most people do that? They typically do succeed because they have chosen to decide. I started thinking about my life and my wife. This November, we would have been married, or will be married for 19 years. That's a long time. Literally, next November, I would have been married for half my life. The following November, I would have been married to my wife more than half my life. And I just think about those numbers like, wow. And people always ask us, how do you do it? What's the secret? What's the magic? Like, write a book about it or something. I say it would be a very short book. Wouldn't even need a whole page. You know what the secret to staying married is? You don't get divorced. Ta-da! I decided. I look my wife in the eyes and I says, now if we decide to do this, if we make this decision, this is it. This has to work. It doesn't mean that my wife hasn't met guys who are far more attractive than me. She has. It doesn't mean that my wife hasn't met guys who make far more money than me. She has. It definitely doesn't mean that my wife hasn't met people who are far more intelligent than I am. Yeah, she has. It doesn't matter because we decided. We've killed off all other options. You know, some people say it's you or nobody else. We don't say that. It's just you. The nobody else is an option. We've cut off all the other options. I look her in the eye and say, hey, lady, we got to figure out a way to make this work. We decided. For so many people, marriage has become a choice. Like, I choose to have a wedding ceremony. Honestly, that's what many of us want, isn't it? Just to have the ceremony where you get the cute little dress, you got the cute makeup, and the hair all done up, and you walk down the aisles, and you're the center of attention for 15 minutes. And you want it. You thirst for it. And many people choose to have that experience. And you can. And there are some other people who simply choose to just say, hey, let's go on downtown, you, me, and a witness, and get this thing done for $25. You can choose. I don't think marriage was ever supposed to be simply about these choices, about simply choosing. I don't think it was supposed to be about the certificate. I don't think it was supposed to be about the ceremony. I really believe it was supposed to be about a decision. Deciding to choose to be with no one else. Deciding that this is who you want to spend the rest of your or their life with, whichever comes first. It was supposed to be about a decision. And I found that most people who fail in marriage, they do it for the same reason that people fail in business, or vice versa. The people who fail in business, they do it for the same reason that most people fail in marriages, because they haven't made a decision. They did not decide. Oh, you made a choice. I chose to do this today. You're going to choose to do this tomorrow. And then you're going to choose to do this the next day. But when are you going to decide? What do you want? It was the most difficult thing, one of the most difficult things I had to do, was to decide what I really wanted. When almost 2 years ago, I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to be a public speaker. That's it. I'm not doing anything else. No more life insurance, no investments, no cutting down trees, no pop-up today businesses and companies. I decided I'm going to be a public speaker, and she asked me that amazing question that all good wives ask. How are you going to make this work? And I gave her the bravest answer I could and said, I have no idea. But I've decided. I figure if I jump out the plane now, I've got enough time to figure out how to fly before I hit the ground. I've decided. There are no other options. This has to work because I've decided. It has to work. I'm no longer a double-minded man, unstable in all of his ways. I've decided. The question we have to ask ourselves is, what do you want? Because when you decide, it is no longer a matter of faith. When you truly decide, it is no longer a matter of hope. When you truly, truly, truly decide, it is no longer a matter of luck. When you truly decide what you want, it then becomes simply a matter of time. What do you want? Decide.
Motivate, inspire, empower. Motivate, inspire, empower.